and welcome back from the break. We live in a moment of time of exceptional opportunity. My generation has seen its living environment change like no other moment in history. From the villages in Punjab to the high-rises of Jakarta, the world around us is in rapid transition. Nowhere is that transition so dramatic, so unprecedented, and so visible as in this region. Firstly, people are moving to the cities, and cities have grown to become global engines and the powerhouses of the economies. Secondly, we're getting richer at the cost of the environment. As societies become more prosperous, our living ways are becoming more unsustainable, destroying the world's ecosystems and jeopardizing the livelihoods of future generations. Thirdly, the global economic power is shifting from the northwestern hemisphere to the southeastern hemisphere. Fourthly, the world is more connected than ever due to the digital revolution. Finally, and most importantly, while we're seeing an aging population in some parts of the world, like where I'm from, overall, there have never been more young people living on this planet. More than half of the world population is below the age of 30. And most of these young people live in areas which is experiencing the most rapid change, like in the Asian region. Of these 5 megatrends that I've just mentioned, the changing demographic is the one which is often overlooked and perhaps has the greatest potential for positive impact, or can have the most catastrophic consequence if we fail to act. Because today, we have 3.5 billion young people living on the planet who has a direct vested interest in our long-term sustainability. They are literally the future. Today's youth will most likely be around in 50 years' time, living in a planet that has to sustain in excess of 10 billion people. And already now, youth voters are showing election after election in countries after countries that they want leaders that are committed to a sustainable future, pitching themselves at the forefront of climate action, demanding that our leaders step up. Falling mortality and fertility rates and the relative abundance of working-age population is a blessing for low and middle-income countries, which has the potential to create wealthier and more productive societies. This generation of young people represent the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity in many places to transform the cities and the countries that they live in. However, the ability to harness this unique demographic transition depends critically on how we invest in and empower young people. Unfortunately, today we're seeing signs of this opportunity being squandered. Young people face considerable obstacles in fulfilling and creating a brighter future for themselves. They're growing up in a food environment that is not only failing their health, but also the environment that they live in. Firstly, children not eating the right quantity and quality of food is leading to a persisting level of stunting. In certain countries in Asia, for instance, here in Indonesia, over 1/3 of the children under 5 years old are too short for their age, affecting cognitive development and reducing school performances significantly, which in turn has a lifelong impact. And at the same time, undernutrition as a child rewires certain metabolic endocrine pathways, increasing the risk of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease later on in life. This is the double burden of malnutrition. Secondly, 2 weeks ago, during the World Obesity Day, a study was published in The Lancet that concluded that just within 5 years' time, there will be more obese than undernourished children living on the planet today. Over the past 4 decades, childhood obesity has soared globally and is currently accelerating in the Asian region. These trends reflect the influence of food marketing and policies across the globe, with healthy and nutritious food being too expensive or not accessible. Yet at the same time, we also learned last month that due to climate change and conflict, the number of world's hungry is continuing to rise. Now, trying to understand the full impact of childhood and youth malnutrition on a societal level reveals something incredibly startling. Already now, malnutrition is slowing down economic growth and perpetuating poverty. It will only get worse if we stay on the same track, as the root of the problem is food systems that are deteriorating the health of children and youth and the environment that they live in. Growing up in the 21st century, kids today are expected to be more connected, more competitive than ever. In the modern economy, where rapid change has become the new norm, we're setting up a generation for failure. And the nightmare scenario is that we're potentially about to experience a sixth megatrend, a generation characterized by declining health and lost opportunities because of the food that they eat. So, what can we do about this? Well, the solutions aren't necessarily very expensive. They require champions and a great deal of political will. We have had great international initiatives like the Global Fund for AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria, the Global Alliance for Vaccine Initiative, Every Woman, Every Child, that have focused attention and driven investment towards clear targets. Now we need an equivalent effort for malnutrition and young people. Governments need to play their role in protecting children and youth from unhealthy foods. That requires action to put in place regulation to limit the food industry's marketing powers in order to reduce kids' consumption of cheap, ultra-processed, calorie-dense, nutrient-poor foods. And we're seeing some initiatives in some certain places where the market itself is self-regulating. However, that is not nearly enough. The politicians need to come to the table. And finally, even though more than half of the world's population is below the age of 30, only 2% of them are lawmakers in national assemblies. Young people have a direct vested interest in their future. Having them represented at the highest political level by investment in youth empowerment will help unclog the short-sightedness that sometimes characterize our political systems. And if we succeed, this might prove to be one of the most fruitful and decisive investments of the 21st century. Let's get to work.